المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. قل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة والموقوذة والمتردية والنطيحة وما أكل السبع إلا ما ذكيتم وما ذبح على النصب وأن تستقسموا بالأزلام ذلكم فسق. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So here also one of the main themes of this surah, which also is very much connected with Maida, Maida being the tablecloth, or the cloth which is spread for the sake of the meals which are partaken. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the muharramat, the forbidden things from among the things which the people of the Jahiliyyah had otherwise invented against the rules and regulations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had provided previously. Of course, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was not involved in all of these things, and they were supposed to be on that millah, and of course they had deviated. And so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions those items. Hurrimat alaykum al-mayta, that definitely it has been made prohibited for you. Number one, mayta. Mayta basically means the dead carrion, the dead meat, that which has not been slaughtered. And by the way, anything which, and all these things which are going to be mentioned, they come under this category. So all of these other items which are mentioned that also are illegal from the types of meat which have died a death other than being slaughtered in the way of Islam, these are all carrion, and these are all forbidden. And in our day and age, we also have new ways in which people have brought about the death of animals other than the way which Sharia has provided. Sharia has provided that the animals must be slaughtered, and the slaughtering must be on the neck and the two veins, which are the two main blood veins, and the esophagus. All of this has to be cut with saying the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by the hand of a Muslim or someone from Ahl al-Kitab who is mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another issue which requires detail. So therefore these, putting animals on machines and running them on a belt and having a Bismillah recorded or saying this is not going to be acceptable. There are some of our scholars have given the ruling that is perhaps acceptable, but the vast majority of the scholars do not accept that. And obviously, we have been ordered by Nabi alayhi salam to leave gray areas and leave that which is doubtful for that which there is no doubt. So that which a Muslim by his own hand saying Bismillah has slaughtered in the proper way, this is halal. Other than that, very doubtful or definitely out of the question. So anything which is died other than that way, we find an animal dead laying somewhere, of course that's not permissible. The Arabs used to eat that. They used to say that what Allah has killed is more deserving to be eaten than what we kill. So that was quite faulty logic, and of course that's unacceptable. And also blood. Now the meaning of blood here is the blood which is now after the sacrifice, that blood which comes out in some peoples in the world here in Europe, in the European civilizations, they actually gather that blood and they make sausages out of it and all kinds of weird things. And so obviously this is totally unacceptable. Also blood which would be flowing from the body. However, the blood which is in the body itself after slaughtering, but that's okay. You'll notice that obviously meat, and when you set it somewhere, then there will be some residual blood which is within the flesh, that's fine. There's no issue with that. Also, the Nabi ﷺ mentions that two things from among which might be considered blood are halal, and that is the liver and the spleen, because they carry a lot of blood. The heart, you might also think, well, that, you know, the blood is, that's okay, that's fine. After slaughtering any of the internal organs, that's fine. Dam wal ahmul khinzir, obviously the flesh of swine. And so most people understand that, but the ulama have a consensus that it's not simply the flesh of swine, anything. For example, the bristles of the swine is used quite often in brushes, particularly previously. I think now it's kind of expensive, but still, particularly the shaving, you know, those shaving brushes, they used to be traditionally made out of the pig bristle. And so this is all, also the leather when it's tanned, even the dead carrion from, you know, the halal animals otherwise, like cows or buffaloes or sheep or goats, if they are found dead, we can use the skin of those animals if they have been, you know, tanned properly, but not the skin of the pigs. They're called najis al-ayn. Every part of the pig is najis, and so therefore leather goods also have to be, you have to be careful and make sure, particularly leather goods coming from countries where they use a lot of swine, China, Mexico, you know. So we would have to be very careful not to use, for example, shoes and other things like that. Wallets, we might have a wallet in our pocket made out of the leather of swine, and we're offering our salat and that's there in our pocket. That's dangerous. So we need to be cognizant of that. And of course anything which was slaughtered, even though slaughtered in the correct way, but other names are invoked. For example, the Christians, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is not going to work. Even though the people, the Ahlul Kitab, if they say Bismillah, they take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, the Christians were originally people who, the original Christians were following the Jewish law. You know, they followed the Mosaic law with some minor adjustments that Sayyidina Isa came with. So they were following the same basic things. So, but after that, everything was quite changed, so probably they don't do that anymore. The kosher, the Orthodox kosher is still very similar to our way. But also, you know, also this idea of kosher, you know, because what is actually kosher? It's just like now, what is actually halal? I mean, people say halal, and then they say this is the biha. Well, if it's not the biha, it's not halal. So people have invented new ways, you know, to sort of categorize things, and so the Jewish community have gone far ahead of the Muslim community in that respect. So one would do well to abstain from that. And people tell me, you know, they say, well, it would become very difficult to find halal meat then. Well, isn't there so many other things halal that we can eat? Personally, I don't buy meat. I haven't bought meat in the past, I don't know, several decades. You know, if I slaughter something or somebody slaughters something. Otherwise, there's so many good things to eat. We have fish, we have legumes, we have so many things. So this is a very critical thing. Now, if we eat unlawful flesh, then our acceptability of all of our prayers, our fasting, our salat, our dhikr, and all of our good works negated. So it's a very dangerous and risky proposition. Allah give us all tawfiq. So anything which has been slaughtered in the name of other than Allah. وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ. And these are all things that also come under the hukm of carrion, but they are various types of carrion that died in various ways. And munkhaniqa is the one that has been strangled, an animal which has died by strangulation. Mawquda, something has been hit. And also, for example, when we shoot, you know, if you shoot with the arrow and it actually cuts, the blood flows, that will be acceptable. Now, if you shoot something with a gun, most of the ulama don't agree with that. That's going to be considered a mawquda. It's been hit. It dies by the percussion, you know, or by anything, you know, that's been hit. Even the arrow, if it hits by the side, it doesn't actually cut it, and it dies because of the pressure of the hit. That's also going to be considered a mawquda, and that's not going to be legal. Now, if the animal in any of these cases has not died, and we find the animal who was in the process of dying through these means, but we reach that animal before it actually dies and slaughter it, then it will be okay. Also mutaraddiya, some animal which has fallen from some height and has died from that purpose, or another animal has gorged it, or it's been hit one way or the other, might have been hit by a car or a train or whatever. So all of these are actually meta, but these are various specific surahs, that specific ways in which these animals would have died. Now they're all carrion, and unless you find them while they're still alive and slaughter them, it's not going to be legal. وَمَا أَكَلَ السَّبْرُ. Similarly, other animals might have killed it, and they might have gorged it, and their blood might have flown, but still, that's if it was dead at that point, it's also going to be carrion. وَمَا ذُبِحَ لِلنُّصُبِ. And also, as the Arabs used to do, the pagans, they used to slaughter these animals in the name of their idols, in front of their idols, which are nusub. Nusub are basically these rocks which were standing, which were their idols that they would worship, and they would go to these in front of these idols, and they would slaughter the animals. Now, even if the animal was slaughtered in the name of Allah, but it was dedicated to these type of polytheist concepts, that also is going to come under that heading. This also happens. Some Muslims, they have some weird ideas. They say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then they offer this to some grave or some shrine or some weird thing. So this is going to be also comes under the same heading. And lastly, وَأَن تَسْتَقْسِمُوا بِالْأَزْلَامِ. Now this is seems to be unrelated, but we're going to see that it is related, and that is that they used to have these divining arrows. As we mentioned, those who have been following in Sirah, they used to have these arrows, and they were in a quiver, and they had things marked on them, yes, no, 1, 2, 3, various things. And they used to decide about future planning, by, this is a kind of a fortune telling, a soothsaying. So they would take these arrows and pull them out. If it said yes, okay, do it. If they pull out one that says no, don't do it. And they would also, when they would slaughter these camels, sometimes they would have a number of people would slaughter these animals, and then for the distribution, they would also take out this is why it's connected here. They would distribute through these, so somebody might get the whole thing, somebody might get nothing, and so it wouldn't be distributed evenly. ذَلِكُمْ fisk, that is fisk, that is sin and transgression. That meaning what? That those dividing arrows, some of the ulama say that it's referring to that specifically, although all of that is fisk, all of that is sinful that comes before, but particularly that. And why? Another reason why it might be mentioned here is because just as the pagans had sort of invented the eating of these type of things and slaughtering in this way, also they came up with this divining arrows thing, and it's also connected with that unjust distribution of the meat. So all of that is going to be considered sinful and transgressing the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to remain aloof from that and save the rest of humanity as well. Ameen thumma ameen wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillah.